Hey Dom, this is Dave Decide. Today we need to talk about V and his eye condition and what happened there. I also wanted to get into Lisa from BLACKPINK and kind of her shading her label and what happened there. So hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Let's get into it. K-pop labels pretty much control a huge portion of your career and image. I think it was shocking for some people to hear how American labels do not care as much about your image and care more about the artist's own image to shine through. Being an artist in America is harder to recognize in a sense because a label won't sign you anymore if you don't already have a platform, or in order for you to get signed in America you need a viral video of you singing first, a TV show, or a big social media following. And the reason being is American labels are no longer, or less than before, go on the street and scout interesting people. They don't want to take the risk. They rather sign someone who is already semi-famous or has a proven track record of being able to sell their music. And so oftentimes the artists themselves will already have an image for themselves and a brand they created, which the label will just let you keep that sometimes. Whereas in K-pop, labels like YG or SM or whatever, they tend to get an artist young, they still do scout people, and then they spend thousands of dollars on this artist to train them and to get them to the image they personally believe will sell the best in the industry. They would often prefer to sign someone who is not famous yet so that the label can create the image for them. Of course, this means that labels like YG control everything their artists do, including what they wear, sometimes what they eat, their ability to have free time with whoever they want. Lisa from BLACKPINK is someone who is in that boat. It was believed early on that YG was controlling everything that the girls do. And of course, one of the hardest things about attending the trainee program to be a K-pop star is that you will not be able to see your family or whatever for many years, unless the family is also in Korea. As you, the trainee, don't have much money or time, and the label is not going to pay for your flight to your hometown for you. Lisa recently, after becoming so successful, decided to fly home to see her family after not seeing them for many years, and was able to celebrate her birthday with them. So this was beautiful, and she posted photos on her Instagram. It was interesting because during an interview she was asked about this, and it seemed like she really shaded YG a bit. Lisa made the cover for Rolling Stone, and one of the questions they asked her was, "You went back to Thailand recently for your birthday. How was it?" She answered, "It was the first time in 3 years. My mom and dad are getting old. Now we don't have quarantine. It's easier to travel. Whenever I have time, I want to return to Thailand. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to say I don't care about what the company says, but I want to see them as often as I can." I think a lot of us think that at a certain point the label may care less about what an artist does, but it doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like the label, for as long as the artist stays with them, they need to listen, and I can understand this as well. The label invested so much money into the artist, and they can't just have the artist do quote-unquote unnecessary trips because it's dangerous. This is one of the main reasons the members are not allowed to drive and that sort of thing. So it's definitely understandable. YG is just doing their best to protect their artists, and quite honestly, most of these labels do a decent job at keeping their artists safe and protected. And these are the common practices they go by. Clearly, YG had no problem with Lisa going to Thailand this time around for her birthday, so I can see that they'll let her do it again another time. So do you think Lisa just shaded the label, or is it really shade at all? I think this is something a lot of people know already about K-pop, and it's part of the industry. So it can't be shade if everyone knows this already and it's seen as a common practice. Safety of an artist is very important, and sometimes it's quite scary to think that an artist might not be okay or they may be in danger. And a lot of the time the label then takes the heat for that because people think that the label should know better. But it would be quite weird, and I would vote against this, to have the artist take so many medical tests in a day to make sure that they're okay. It's excessive and invasive, and an artist has a right to keep certain medical conditions to themselves if they don't want to share. I think Suga was one of the first who decided that he was going to keep his shoulder injury from the label for a while because he was scared that if they knew, he would get dropped. So having that privacy is important as humans. Recently, news came out that Taehyung had a specific condition that was quite interesting, or scary to say. He has had a skin condition go public before. This is the condition where his skin itches when it gets hot or too cold. I have a similar condition when the temperature gets cold in New York. Where I'm from, the air gets really dry, so my skin dries out. So when it does get hot from the heater or whatever and I sweat, I break out in a rash. Maybe because my skin opens up more and it's already cracked, I have no idea. And it feels feels a little bit like spider bites all over my back or wherever, and it itches, really itches. Like, not to get too dark, but I've had moments where I'm just crying because it itches and hurts so bad, and I'm already stressed. And you just have to wait until you stop sweating or it passes. The summer, I'll usually try not to open the AC for this reason, as it draws water out of my skin. This is a similar condition to what Taehyung has, and a lot of adults have this. There's no cure, it's topical cream, and you need to keep your skin moisturized. But this was something that a lot of armies are aware of and typically feel bad when Taehyung is in extreme climates. And likely one of the reasons Taehyung always wears baggy and loose clothes just to avoid sweating and letting his skin breathe. But it was recently put out publicly that Taehyung has another condition, and this condition is quite concerning to armies. During an interview with Jimmy Fallon, all of the BTS boys were doing the interview via a webcam, and Jimmy decided to ask a bunch of random questions that either armies submitted or Jimmy's staff handpicked, and they were great questions. Jimmy asked the boys what was something that was most surprising that the members had learned about each other during a time in which they were all together all the time. RM pointed out that Taehyung has this ability to sleep with his eyes open, or I assume when he's sleeping he doesn't even realize, so he sleeps with his eyes open. This was said in more of a joking way, and it's something that armies make fun of and make memes about, which is funny. I mean, Taehyung isn't upset about it or anything like that. People were making jokes like how funny it must be for the members when they wake up in the middle of the night and see Taehyung with his eyes open, or like how creepy this is. A lot of people relate to this as well, and a lot of people would comment their stories of how their mom does this or whatever. And in a lot of cases, it's probably fine. There's a lot of footage online of moments where armies could see what appears like Taehyung sleeping and his eyes are open. We don't know if he's actually sleeping in these moments or if it's just staged for the video. Definitely some of them were joke videos, but perhaps some of them are actual footage of Taehyung asleep with his eyes open. And assuming it's real, it's quite interesting. A little scary though. People talk about it like it's quite funny, like he's watching out for danger, but he likely can't actually see anything because he's actually asleep. I do wonder if he dreams at all, because in order to dream, your eyes have to roll back. Sleeping conditions are quite scary, I think. I mean, sleeping in general is kind of scary. You're unconscious and you go into a whole other reality. It's like dying, then coming back to life in 8 hours. And then things like sleep paralysis or whatever, but that's a whole other thing. Now, some medical professional armies were a bit more concerned over this. The reason why we blink is to keep our eyes moisturized, obviously. So when you don't blink, your eyes can dry out. And if your eyes dry out in these long hours of the night, it can be concerning. Dry eyes can lead to numerous medical conditions and really badly affect your eyes, the eyesight, and everything. You think it's not a big deal and kind of a funny thing, but things our bodies do naturally, like sleep with our eyes closed, we need to do it, which is why we naturally do it. I would assume if there's any issues, Taehyung does have eye drops for this, and this is something he deals with. Other theories and conditions also go into why sometimes Taehyung's eyes are really red. People have accused him of smoking weed, or just sometimes smoking cigarettes makes your eyes red. I have no idea. I don't smoke, but this could be a reason why his eyes are red. Him just not blinking or closing his eyes enough. We also tend to not blink as much when we watch something on our computer or on our phones. So putting that all together, Taehyung's eyes could be a concern. So what do you think? Do you think Taehyung sleeping with his eyes open is a condition he should go get checked out if he hasn't already? Is it something that you struggle with or your family member does and it's not a big deal at all? You'll have to tell me. I have no idea. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thank you to this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.